Hey guys, you are watching Jett Plays, and this is Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I'm playing this on the Xbox 360, and I am the player on the right. So I'm playing as Wolverine, Storm, and Sentinel, and my opponent on the left is playing Wolverine, Wesker, Akuma. If you've been following my site at all, you know that I've been in a little bit of a gaming funk. So I haven't really been all that interested in playing games. I've been a lot more interested in some other nerdy pursuits, which I've been following pretty obsessively. That's still very much the case, and this video is more or less an excuse to talk about one of those other nerdy pursuits, as it's kind of fitting. But let's start with this match. So I've played this guy before. He's always stuck out since the first time we played. The first time we played, I beat him a couple of times, and then he figured me out and just won like 5 or 6 straight. And from there, I was logging out, and he sent me this message. And it wasn't necessarily a jerk message, but I did not take to it very kindly, and I've been upset about it ever since. So every time I play this guy, I kind of have a chip on my shoulder, like I need to get back at this guy. And up until this point, that hadn't really happened. His Spencer in particular, which I think he pulls out later in this set, has proved to be nightmarish for my team. Spencer is one of the better characters in this game. With his grappling arm, he can zip across the screen very quickly, has a lot of mix-up options, and you will see some of that a little later in the set. I mean, about this match, like, as my team fighting against his team, I feel that Wolverine is the key. Him and Akuma in particular make for a very deadly combination. One of the original BFFs in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, Justin Wong kind of pioneering that particular combination, because Akuma's Hurricane Kick assist, it's a slow moving assist that does a lot of hits. It's invincible for a lot of it, so you can just kind of hit that button almost whenever you want, and if people are blocking it, they can still hit you. So, I mean, if you're blocking the Hurricane Kick, Wolverine can dance around, hit you high, low, Berserker Slash on the other side. It's really hard to block. So yeah, this first match, oh, there we go, Wolverine gone. Oh, and here comes Wesker. Wesker at one point was popular in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and then in the early days of Ultimate was really popular. There was a lot of talk about Wesker being the best character in the game, and to a certain extent, Wesker being broken. But as people have played more of this and learned about the ins and outs of the game and this particular character, he's definitely fallen down the tier list a bit. There are certain matchups that Wesker has where he's just not very good. One of those matchups I find is against Storm. So Storm, not very popular character, and as you can see here, I'm getting wrecked pretty good, but if I have Storm out and my assist, which is the Sentinel drones, Wesker has a really hard time getting in and getting anywhere. I can just kind of chip him out from full screen until he dies. So let's just see how this match resolves itself before I talk about what I really wanted to talk about today. Alright, there we go. Catch him with the dive kick. And run this mix-up. Can he block it? No, he cannot, but I cannot fully convert. Alright. Boom, couldn't stop it. So what I really wanted to talk about today is comic books. I have been reading a whole bunch of late, and my favorite series of the bunch is X-Men. As you can see, it kind of translates into other aspects of life. I run an all X-Men team here with Wolverine, Storm, and Sentinel. And when I started reading comic books, I started with the all-new X-Men trade paperback. So, all-new X-Men #1, yesterday's X-Men. So if you haven't been following, the general premise is that in the present, Cyclops is kind of a bad guy. And I say kind of a bad guy because he killed Professor X, which is a pretty big deal because the whole fight for peace among mutants and humans was kind of his dream, and Professor X's top student kind of killed that when he killed him. So to be fair, Cyclops was not kind of under the influence of a outside force, and it is debatable whether or not he still intentionally tried to kill Professor X, or at least that's my understanding from what happens in AVX, which I have not read yet, admittedly. But long story short, Cyclops is the bad guy, and he's kind of teamed up with Magneto and Emma Frost and Magic as this kind of rebel X-Men group that are trying to protect mutants at all costs, and even if that means killing or hurting human beings. So from there, like, the X-Men that are still the good guys can't just kill Cyclops. And the problem is, Cyclops has been known as a public figure. A lot of mutants still like him. A lot of humans still have a respect for him, and some even like him. So by killing him, that would just cause a potential civil war among everyone involved. So instead, someone comes up with this crazy scheme to travel back in time and grab the old X-Men from the past and have them talk with the current Cyclops and talk him back to his senses, so that he can get back to doing what he does best. Which is kind of a crazy setup, and I mean, anytime you involve time travel, things can get really messy, but so far the series has been great. They play up a lot about the humorous things that are involved with these characters, so Cyclops, Beast, Jean Grey, Angel, and Iceman coming back from the past and living in present times and having to live with knowing what happens in the future. And I guess the craziest parts are when they start to noodle with the continuity, so certain things that have been part of the X-Men universe and known truth since the very beginning are kind of shaken up. And it's really interesting to see how those things have played out. I think there is a potential for them to really screw this up, and so far they haven't. It's been fantastic, and the art is great. So I highly recommend checking out All New X-Men. I've got a few comic books out here just to kind of refresh my memory as I talk through this. Next on this list, I would say Uncanny X-Men, which follows the same story as All New X-Men, but it's from the perspective of Cyclops and his team. So, Cyclops, basically a fugitive, wanted by S.H.I.E.L.D. for killing Professor Xavier. Emma Frost and Magneto break him out of jail. And they're trying to build their own X-Men group, and they strongly believe that they're right. And they have been amassing a new group of mutants. So for the longest time, mutants were not popping up, no new mutants. And at this point, some mutants have started to come back. Like, they're starting to revive, and Cyclops wants to build a new team of X-Men with all of these new recruits. So from here, there's a lot of weird dynamics, or a lot of interesting dynamics that make this book interesting. For instance, Emma Frost and Cyclops, they're still working together, though they're not dating anymore. Things are very contentious between Cyclops and Magneto, because it's really hard to get a read on whether Magneto's really friends with these guys or not. Ever since the events of Avengers vs. X-Men, Cyclops, Emma Frost, and Magneto have been heavily depowered. Their powers are not working properly, so Magneto can't really pick up or manipulate metal to the same extent that he used to. Emma Frost can't really read minds anymore. Cyclops has no real control over a shot, so he has a really hard time aiming it. He can't shoot very much. And it's either not all that powerful or so insanely powerful that he would kill everyone around him. And then these new X-Men have the potential to do some super crazy things, but they're not battle tested at all. So there's this weird dynamic where you've got these grizzled veterans that can't really do anything anymore, alongside a bunch of newbies who have all sorts of crazy powers, but they have no idea how to use them. At this point, I don't think, based on everything that I've read, I don't think it's as good as All New X-Men, but it makes for a great supporting storyline if you really want to know what's going on Cyclops' end of that plot. And I think it has the potential to be the best one, just because the dynamics there are very interesting, and I think will benefit them in the long run if they can keep the quality up. Third on my X-Men list here is just X-Men, the mainline X-Men, which has been shaken up as well. When you think X-Men, of course you think about the Cyclopses and the Wolverines and stuff. Current mainline X-Men is just the women of X-Men. So primarily featured are Storm as the leader of the group, Rogue, Psylocke, Jubilee, Rachel Summers, and Kitty Pryde. And I came into this one with a little bit of skepticism. Having a group called X-Men and having it be all women has the potential to be kind of gimmicky. But when you think about it, for the X-Men universe, having an all-women group makes a lot of sense. Ever since the very beginning, women have played a very big role in the X-Men universe, and a lot of the women, some of the women are the strongest, smartest, and most influential characters in the entire series. I was just kind of concerned that this was going to be a cheesy story where all the girls are like, oh, we're going to be an all-girl group. And I was really glad to see that it's not that at all. The setup for it is stuff goes down, and it just so happens that the team that is available happen to be all girls. They don't even make mention of the fact that this is an all-girl group. So it's just an X-Men story that just happens to star X-Men characters that are women, and it's fantastic. They don't play up the girl factor or the sex appeal at all. It's just an X-Men story, and it's a really great one that is, at least in the first book, Volume 1 Primer, doesn't really tie into the greater X-Men universe, at least as it connects with All New X-Men, but everything does converge in the X-Men Battle of the Atom crossover event, which is the next thing I'm going to be reading. And I've got one more X-Men comic here, and this is Wolverine and the X-Men. So this particular series, when Marvel Now did their big relaunch a couple of years ago, it was in 2012. They relaunched a whole bunch of their comic lines, including Uncanny X-Men, and released All New X-Men. But Wolverine and the X-Men was not part of that relaunch. They continued on as they normally did, and recently they put an end to Wolverine and the X-Men, and they have relaunched it as part of All New Marvel Now. So Wolverine and the X-Men kind of follows that same universe, but the different angle here is the focus is on Wolverine as he's trying to run the Jean Grey school and the trials and tribulations of being that teacher, and so they focus a lot on the students and all of that. So I guess at this point in the story, one of the big things is, and this is something I haven't read exactly how this happens just yet, but right now in the X-Men universe, Wolverine lost his healing power. So I don't know if he can get it. He could probably get it back, but it's starting to look like Wolverine is potentially going to die at some point in the near future, and he is kind of accepting of that fate. So he's trying to look for someone to carry on his legacy, and there's one student in particular that Wolverine and the X-Men want to kind of work with the teachers and potentially become a teacher himself, and that's Quentin Quire. I don't really know what his deal is. This is my first Wolverine and the X-Men, so I mean, there's one thing about him. I'm not going to spoil it, but there's one thing about him that makes him destined for very big things in the future. So we'll kind of leave it at that. Of all the X-Men books that I've read, as far as the ones that connect to the main continuity, Wolverine and the X-Men is my least favorite of the bunch, which is really a disappointment because Wolverine's my favorite character, but at least in issue 1, it was really boring. Wolverine is hardly in it at all. The big focus is on his students, which, I mean, have no cachet with me because I haven't read anything about them before, and they don't do this issue does not do a good job of setting up who they are or what makes them cool, or like it doesn't make you like any of them at all. And Wolverine's in it just for a little bit. He has like one fight, and which causes one conversation with an old friend, and it's just not that interesting. I think the art's cool, but it's the characters that I want aren't really featured in there, and the story setup for where this thing is going just doesn't seem all that interesting to me, so I doubt I will be following this one anytime soon. So that's X-Men. If you have any interest in reading the comics, and if you were like me, just didn't really know where to start because there's so much stuff in the X-Men universe, I would say start with All New X-Men. Grab the trade paperback, All New X-Men Volume 1, Yesterday's X-Men, and kind of go from there. If you want to dive more deeply into that fiction, there's regular X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, and Wolverine in the X-Men. And I'm not sure how much the others tie in. When I read a little bit of Cable and the X-Force, I don't think that tied in all that much. And X-Factor, and what was the other one? There's a couple more X-Men lines. Marvel makes a gajillion of them that weave in and out of each other in weird ways. Back to the match here. This guy has won the last 2 matches on me, and hopefully I can turn things around. He's kind of got my number right now. I think that the next time I do one of these videos, I'll do Injustice and talk about all the DC Universe stuff. So we've got a few more minutes. I guess I can talk about some other comic book stuff I have been reading, at least on the Marvel side. I read the Marvel Now Omnibus, which captures all of the Marvel Now issue 1s. So in there was like the new Fantastic Four, the new... Alright, here's a place to start. Superior Spider-Man. So if you haven't been following Spider-Man, Superior Spider-Man starts with the premise that Peter Parker is dead. Dr. Octopus was dying, and in a last-ditch effort to stay alive, he transported his brain, like, I don't know, he transported his conscious into Peter Parker's body. Peter Parker's brain and conscious is gone, but Peter Parker's memories still live in Dr. Octopus. And I guess one of the things that's confusing to me, not having read The Death of Spider-Man, is why the heck would Dr. Octopus want to do good guy stuff once he's inside Peter Parker's body? They don't really make that overly clear in issue 1 of Superior Spider-Man. And, I mean, from there, what makes Dr. Octopus's Spider-Man a little different, he has some different weapons, he approaches a lot of situations a little differently. I actually got to talk to a artist who's worked on the Superior Spider-Man team-up at Comic-Con, Toronto Comic-Con, and it was interesting that he said that a lot of people found it to be very polarizing, and I feel the same way. I kind of see where they're going with it, but I just didn't like... I had no interest in following Dr. Octopus's Spider-Man. It didn't connect with me at all. Thankfully, the Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker, is coming back to coincide with the movie. So that's probably where I'm going to start with Spider-Man. I've wanted to read Spider-Man, but I haven't done enough research to know what place to start. So I think I will start with the all-new Marvel Now relaunch of Spider-Man then. What other things that I found interesting in the Marvel Universe? Oh, I'm going to finish this guy off with... I love the finish of this fight, just being able to hit this guy like that. What else was in the Marvel Universe stuff? I guess the Avengers. Going into this Marvel Omnibus, I haven't really been a fan of the Avengers or their main components, so Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, Hawkeye. There's another main member that I'm missing. Thor. Yeah, those guys just haven't really interested me. Watching the Avengers movie hasn't really hasn't made me like them anymore. And reading the Avengers stuff here, it's still not clicking with me. Like, not West Coast Avengers, or New Avengers, Secret Avengers, Young Avengers, Uncanny Avengers. Just so many different variations of this group, and I don't really like any of them. I guess it's just a mix of the heroes that they use, and the stories just don't really grab me at all. But that's okay, to each their own. I really like the X-Men stuff, and Marvel makes a ton of that. So, no problem with that on my end here. So let's talk about these matches, this last match, before we go. That was a really nice switch there. Nice DHC to protect my Wolverine and keep things going. When one of the secrets, if you are playing me, kill my Wolverine first, and I have to play way more conservatively. My damage output isn't nearly as good. Kill Wolverine first. That or kill Sentinel first. The one thing you don't want to do is kill Storm first, because like, I love Storm as a character in this game, and in certain cases she's excellent to keep. Like, I guess against Wesker I would probably kill Wolverine first, but oh no, X Factor caught me there. Uh-oh. This is not good. Yeah, Storm's probably dead right here, yeah. Alright, so it's Sentinel Wesker. This is a terrible matchup. Oh, I've got to wrap this up because this video is going to end in a sec. Anyway, yeah, I finished this guy off. Thank you so much, guys, for watching Jett Plays. Hopefully you enjoyed the comic chat, whether you're reading the comics or not. And if you're not, I hope this makes you a little more interested in what's going on in the X-Men universe, because I'm really enjoying it, and it's really good, and I hope that you discover it and enjoy it as well. So, if you want more videos, check me out at youtube.com/JettInThirdPerson with 2 T's. You can check out the blog at inthirdperson.com, and on Twitch, I'm at twitch.tv/JettInThirdPerson. So until next time, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you'll come back and watch another time.